just like music.
You can hit the high notes.
Hey, welcome back to Let's Talk About It with Rod Love and Greg Jackson. For those of you who are tuning back in, y'all hear the laughter because Bishop McRae over here talking about Rod Love can hit those high notes. No, Rod Love cannot.
That's right.
No. Hey, Bishop, since you over here playing with those high notes, why don't you hit a little something for us?
I can't sing.
Man, you hear
The
that?
better
Greg?
singer is this dude across the table from me now. I can play drums.
I've been to both of y'all churches.
Yeah, you know that don't count because you can sing as a pastor.
Yeah.
When you got
They give you grace. They give you grace as a pastor.
Yeah, all pastors have to sing a little bit.
Yeah, you get grace as a pastor, and they work in the church too. I don't understand. It's the craziest thing out there.
Hey, but I mean, I tell you, you know what? Aside from the talent that you have in the church, you when I've been to both of your churches, you make me lean in. See, that's the difference in going to church and sitting back in a chair.
Yeah.
When people start leaning in, that's when you know you got them.
Hey,
Hey, you got to be engaged.
When I serve as a worship leader, I stole something from Pastor McRae. I hope you don't mind. I stole it. Pastor.
You stole it.
It's part mine now.
I got you. First time you give credit, second time it's yours.
Yeah, but you know what? We wanted y'all in here because what you did this weekend with, knocking, and I guess let me just open up the show, Greg, and ask the question. Y'all goal was to knock on 10,000 doors.
10,000 doors.
10,000
Yep.
doors.
How did you do?
We did very well. We scattered all throughout the Pine Hills area. We broke everybody up into zones. We had people literally walking the streets while other people were standing on 7 corners that we dominated as well in the Pine Hills community. We really put a circle from north as Clark-Onokoe, as south as Colonial, as west as Awasi, as east as Pine Hills. And then we put another stop in the center of it all on the corner of Powers Drive and Silver Star.
We literally bum rushed the whole community.
We did. Yeah.
But you know what we love about it? Greg and I was talking about this 11 o'clock last night, is the fact that y'all did something that a lot of folks say is hard to do. And you know what that was?
What's that?
Y'all work together.
Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah,
Y'all work together.
Yeah, we came together. It's not hard to come together when you're all on the same page. When
Same
you all
page.
have the same goal.
Yeah.
It was us and Joshua
Jerry
Generation
Owens,
Church
yeah.
with Dr. Jerry Owens and ECC. Man, we just had a good time praying for folk, leading folk to the Lord, knocking on doors, just having a good time.
Yeah.
Just fulfilling the mission of winning souls.
And when you start thinking about just connections, different people have different connections. I have some great friends in the city who the Lord just didn't drop them in my spirit for that time, but great friends in the city and great things happen. And when you're on the same page spiritually, it's not a struggle,
Right.
I think that's usually the struggle. The struggle is not what we're doing. The struggle is where our hearts are, where the spirit is. So sometimes you get into confrontations of people want to go different directions. And one of the things that I've learned, I know we all came together for Russ. I think, was that last year, Russ, or the year before for the men's conference?
Oh yeah, I think it's last
So we
year.
all kind of came together for Russ for the men's conference. And it's just a matter of, hey, man, Russ is the leader of this. We are all bigging up in our skin and say, Russ is the leader of this. And we're not trying to come in and be the
Man,
Russ.
that's what I'm talking about.
We're trying to be supportive of Russ, And then when you talk about me and Russ go back to, man, when he stayed across the street from Meadowbrook Middle School.
Oh, you
You
telling
going
my
way?
age. You telling my age.
with that,
Telling my age. Tell
with
your
that
own
hatchback
age.
Datsun, I think it was.
Oh, y'all don't remember the Datsun 310.
Datsun
That's
310.
it right
See, there we
there.
go. Way back in those days, man. I grew up in this house, and so.
Man, but we love what we saw. Pastor, speaking of the men's conference that you do, I met you when I was a commissioner and you were doing, how many years have you been doing that?
Well, the men conference started even before me with my father. And so he started the church actually 34 years ago Sunday.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
February 16, 1986.
And who was the first drummer?
The first real drummer was Bishop-Elect Derrick McRae.
I played drums over there. Hey, man. When it was Eatonville Church of God in
when
Christ.
we first started, we had one bass drum, boom, and one snare drum, pow. And all we could do is boom and pow. But Bishop Derrick over here, he knew how to make boom pow sound like a whole drum set.
So that's what happened when I heard he didn't make the starring role in Drumline. He came over there and
here
he was
we
over
go.
there
with us.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Greg, save me, Greg. Save me,
Save
Greg.
him.
Save me, Greg.
So 10,000 doors. What was the inspiration of this?
just wanted to make sure we met everybody.
Nice.
You know, I just think that the church has to always be working to get outside the doors.
Yeah.
We're in a new generation now, and you know, as much as we want to say new generation, it's still old concepts.
Yeah.
And you know, I love the contemporary church. I say it all the time. I'm not so sure the contemporary church is as effective as it is swelling.
Well, you know, I think,
Yeah.
Bishop, that you can be fly and have no power.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I think that it is more effective. The whole thing has always been what the Bible says. It says, go into all the world.
Yes.
It didn't say the world's going to come, all the world's
Right.
going to come into
You're
the
right.
church. It said, go into all the world. That's the Great Commission and preach the gospel. So we just did what the Bible said.
We did it.
And then and it goes further to say that if I be lifted up, I'll draw.
Right.
And so we just go out and lift him up,
Yeah.
then he'll draw.
Yeah.
And it was so great to do it collectively with our other brothers and sisters, with all three of us getting together, because we could do more collectively than we ever could do individually.
Right.
And that was
now,
powerful.
Now, was there anything that you all heard while you're out there meeting the people,
Oh,
making
my.
sure that you're touching everybody, that shocked you about why folks are not connecting more with the churches, or issues that are taking place in the community that's keeping them from connecting more?
I think that my main focus with that, Greg, is that we're not there to talk about problems as much as we're there to bring solutions.
Nice.
And so I know that a lot of people have issues. Sometimes if you're not careful, you can get caught up in the issues that you never get to the problem.
That's a great
Yeah.
point.
And
That's a
so
great point.
when you're always talking about, oh man, y'all didn't do. Okay, here's the truth. If you're doing ministry today, you're not a novice to the problems and the ills of the separation of church and population.
Right.
You know, so the thing is that we should have those kind of meetings amongst ourselves. You know, it's bad when you got to wait for a doctor to tell you you're sick,
sick.
but
You already know.
you've been coughing and you got the chills. You already know you're sick.
Yeah.
You know, doc, I need you coming in here telling me what's the solution. And so we wanted to go to the
Bishop,
street.
let me
for
do this
solution.
because we can't wait. Hey, if you witnessed what took place this weekend, it was so powerful. If you witnessed it, dial into the show. And, you know, radio, we don't have like 5 minutes to listen to somebody testify. But call into the show and let us know in a real brief moment what you witnessed. Area code 407-894-1680. And Greg, give the number for the brothers.
407 894 1689.
And you got to do it a little slow for us. Hey, but that was incredible. And Greg, man, you know, we throw balls and strikes. These are our friends, but we still throw those balls and strikes. So a couple of questions for you guys. What's the role of the clergy in building awareness of the varied issues in the community?
Well, I think the cool thing about, especially the church in the African American context, is that we do more than preach.
Right.
You know, we to a certain extent, we are not a political institution, but we have to be political to a certain extent. We are not necessarily a socioeconomic group, but we do have to give financial assistance, and we do have to give financial guidance. So part of my role and Bishop Derrick's role is to stay abreast of what's going on, so that our parishioners and our partners can be, you know, informed on what's going on. So unashamedly, I talk about current issues.
Yeah.
Because if I only give you a lesson on the Bible and it's not relative to where you live, then I just gave you a history lesson,
Right.
and it don't mean nothing to you.
Yeah.
But if I tell you that you, just like David, you could be facing a giant issue of debt or a giant issue of sickness in your body, but God can give you the tools to bring that thing around, then you can understand that we've built a bridge of contemporization, and there it means something to you where you are today.
I also just want to extend on to that question, respond to that question. The birthing of the Black church was social justice. That was
That's right, yeah.
it was the platform for us. To, you know, it wasn't just about worship. It was about a place of expression, a place of us to gather together. It was a place for us to organize and have strategic steps to go forward. We always jokingly say it in church that all callings is not the pulpit. It's the truth. You know, everybody's not called to pastor. Some people are called to corporate America. Some people are called to the political scene. But I think that everybody recognize the roles that they play. So as pastors, there's certain doors that we get to into as pastors, because voting body that sits behind us,
That is true.
that carries some weight, and we got to be able to doors that I can walk in that they can't walk in. I'm still their representative,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then I can bring them alongside me to do the things that I can't do that they can do, and that's how we move the community forward.
You know what? It's interesting, Greg. We're going to get off of script a little bit here, but when we talk about the power of the Black vote, in the promo that went out today, you know, we got hit with some questions, and folk were saying, is the Black vote synonymous with cryptocurrency. You know, you can't.
Okay.
You know, so we know it's there. And right now, you see, and I'm not pulling y'all any political discussion, but all you hear right now is the value of the black vote.
Oh yeah.
Will the black vote turn up so that you can't see it, but you
know
understand the
it's there.
value
Yeah.
when it's time to vote?
So you think the black vote like the Holy Spirit? You can't see him, but you know he's there.
Yeah.
You can't see him, but you know he's important. You can't see him,
according to
but
the
you
numbers,
need-
it's looking like that. To
Yeah,
be honest
yeah.
with you, and it's a very discouraging factor because we tend to plead for placements of opportunity to make differences, but don't show up when platforms are presented to us to be able to make the difference. And we can't blame nobody else for
But us.
that.
Well,
You got to blame ourselves.
Bishop, I hate to play that. It's very difficult to become energized about something that especially about a group of people who I'm not important to until it's time to vote.
I agree too.
Interesting. Interesting.
Time out. Time out.
Uh-huh.
Now, Greg, you know, we've gotten some critiques on me and Greg's style. We've had some folks say I'm the best shade thrower, while Greg will throw the kitchen sink at you.
Gotcha. And Greg would throw the
And
kitchen.
he will throw the kitchen sink at you.
Why they do you like that?
I don't know, man. I'm just a good guy trying to make a life for myself.
But I love what you're saying, and you know what, Greg? We ain't gonna have enough time because this conversation is taking place here. Sometimes you gotta needle some of us to help us understand the truth. But, and I'll say, and I don't need a response, but I'm disappointed. Greg and I, you know, we've been working on some issues. You know, 50 people standing around, and a murder takes place in our community.
Yeah.
And nobody
Wants to respond.
wants to respond, but we have a young lady who stepped up in a park, and she said, yeah, this person did it. Law enforcement made their arrest, took that person off the street. So we've made a commitment, and Bishop, I had the conversation with you, Pastor, you were gonna be a phone call as well. When this woman has a court date to go and identify the person that committed these offenses,
Got to show up.
we gonna show, man, I hope ain't no more seats left. And
Yeah.
so if you're interested in showing up and showing that it's time for a cultural shift when we talk about making sure that we defend our community. So if you're interested in showing up, you can go to info@letstalknation.net. Send us an email to let us know that you want to show up so that we can be there in force. And one last note, man, we elect folk to represent us.
We do.
Absolutely.
I'm not happy with the representation that I've seen so far with these murders in our community. I like to see the number one person. If I break my leg, I want to go see my doctor. I want to see my doctor first.
Right.
Now, I'm going to ask y'all pastors to pray for that leg healing pretty good after the fact, but I want to see the doctor.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things I say also to that, Pastor Russ, and you're absolutely right, that the vote seems important when it's time, our voice seems important when it's time to vote. And one of the things that I think we have to do is we got to have, I like to say that the black community oftentimes is becoming its worst cancer because we are so into destroying strong voices to elevate voices who have not been heard. And I think that becomes a problem, that we don't have voices of character, voices that are proven. We have a bunch of novices showing up every other week who's trying to validate themselves when new up and coming individuals are trying to destroy the old voices. And so what happens is everybody's trying to get to this top, which we've been saying for years, called crab mentality, that we never ever get to turn the bucket over and let the water run. And so I think that we have to become, for one, hold our politicians to the fire.
Black, white, it don't matter.
Watch this. I said this years ago. I said, if you all don't hold President Obama to the fire, you cannot hold the next person
You're right.
Yeah.
to the fire. And I think that we have to become very mindful of everybody's representing us. It is not the elected officials' agenda that we're looking for. It's the voice of the people, and you're going to take that agenda and run with it for us. And but it becomes us. We got to stop selling out.
Yep.
We got to stop taking money for everything that happens so they can buy our voice. We got to position ourselves to have money where we can have a voice, because talking is not a voice.
No.
Money is a voice, and we don't raise money together.
So I could check this off our list, Greg, because we were going to talk about the role economics play in the faith community when you look at the things that y'all do that you call ministry, but then other organizations do them and they call them programs and they get paid for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but going to Pastor McRae's point, and I've spent the better part of 2 weeks tagging some politicians in a pocket because when 4 years ago they said that they were going to do certain things for the community, and when I look back 3 years later, and I drove down the street of Central Avenue 3 years ago, and I took pictures on that street. I drove back down that street in February of 2020, and those streets had changed.
Yeah.
I said, why would I support you if I'm looking at the same community that I saw 3 years ago? Aren't you moving into something? So no, I cannot support you. But what I can do is I can make it known that you spent $1 million on a parking lot. I can let it be approved $200,000 for a police officer to work in the business district. And when someone came to me and said, well, you know, Greg is a business community, I said,
Right.
and I said, when was the last time you saw a shooting in the parking lot where all the money is going?
Right.
So you're absolutely right. We have to hold these politicians accountable for their word, how they say they're going to help the community, because if we don't let them slide, they're not going to pay attention to it the next time either.
I want to hear what you got to say, but before I to y'all, that's my brother over there. And you know, it's that old rule about no hitting in the face. Greg and I, we differ from the standpoint that I met with the two elected officials that's running for re-election. Now, I will tell you, if you go to city, look at the minutes, I'm one of those voices that spoke up to say, what the heck you spending $1 million on a parking lot for when all you got to do is look across the street and there's some problems. But I take a different approach to this.
Okay.
While I've met, and we, you know, one of the commissioners, we had a 45-minute lunch schedule. It turned out to be 2 hours, not because it was a great lunch. Because we didn't see eye to eye, but I'm endorsing those individuals. I'm endorsing them because while all of the ills that are taking place in that community, they didn't happen in one term.
Right. Right.
Okay.
And I'm with that's my brother. I do believe, and I told both of these individuals that I expect more from them. So, you know, me and Greg, we gonna continue to go at it with these individuals. Greg, I don't know if y'all been watching, but Greg been wiping the floor. And like I tell everybody, if I ever need an attorney to speak up for me, Greg is gonna be my man. And also, if I ever have to argue with somebody, I'm gonna hate to argue with my brother, but I'm gonna argue with my brother because it makes us better.
It does. It does.
It does. I'd like to say this because in holding people accountable, we have to reevaluate our expectations regularly.
Right.
You know, because a foolish person has for you to think that something should have changed.
You're right. You're right.
Now, it may be unrealistic for you to think that you know, and so as it relates to our community, percent of the problems could be
And I had, because one of the commissioners, he had the nerve, and I didn't hold back, but I was respectful, all right, because I respect positions. And the thing that got me more than anything else is that when we drove down that road 3 years ago and we went and we spoke at the county commission or commission meeting, we provided them with a 47-page plan.
Yes.
With multiple disciplinary approaches to the slum and blight in this area. And we went there in response to them saying $1 million for the parking lots. Not only did we express to them plans,
Subject matter experts.
and said, pick something out of here that you can use to show this community something. I'm not I'm not asking for everything. I'm asking for something. And when the commissioner and I spoke, and he was going through all of this stuff, but there's no leaders in this community. There's no this. I said, aren't you the commissioner? I said, you are a smart, astute man. It appears that you fight for the things that you want. Why aren't you fighting for this community?
This is one of the things that I think we have to do, Greg. We got to figure out, how do we strategize our finances?
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, man, these guys are usually working on where their support came from to
Yeah.
get elected
Yeah,
financially.
you're right. You're right.
And they're returning, they're looking out for who's looked out for them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where a lot of times the African American population misses, and that's where the church community misses.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that we don't have, and I know that no church can write checks to politicians,
No.
but their pastors,
Neither should they.
but pastors can step out and say, you know what, I believe in your plan so much, I want to help your plan get elected.
But you know what, Pastor? Here's something. And my father-in-law, and both of you familiar, Pastor Richard King.
Okay.
He said something when I told him about what you guys did this weekend. And what he said to me, it was simple, but man, the gravity of it was great. He said, Rod, great leadership gives you great fellowship. And I would say that again, Rev.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
So where you're going and what you guys did and what you've been doing. I mean, and I like the fact that you were talking earlier. Man, we don't look to get all caught up in fights with one another. We want to work together, but we got to start looking at our elected leaders, looking at how we hold them accountable, but also how do we support them.
Agreed.
And support them from the standpoint, let's don't gravitate and all run to the Black Caucus at one time.
Right.
We got white elected officials
Agreed.
that can partner and work with us. And Pastor Beacham, I mean, you said it. I mean, we all agree. Economics is what can change the communities of Pine Hills, change the communities of South Apopka, Holden Heights. But, the legislative session is in play right now.
Right.
It's winding down. When it's done, you're going to have a lot of good laws that have been passed. But then look at the appropriations. Here's something that I tell
Right.
you.
That's the biggest.
Look at the appropriations and see how much of that's coming to communities that need it the most.
Brother Love, it looks like we have a caller that wants to join into this conversation with these great men, Pastor Beacham, Bishop McRae, Brother Love. Hey, caller, you're calling in. You're on live with Brother Greg Jackson, Bishop McRae. Let's talk.
Hey, look, radio. That's
Yeah,
radio.
yeah.
But this is a conversation that we didn't have enough time this evening, but this is a conversation that we got to continue, and both of you have been out there grinding.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you this, I gotta get used
I'm
to the bishop.
It's good, Greg. I'm still Derrick.
And you always been bishop to me anyways, but I gotta get used to saying it now.
Uh-huh.
But Bishop McRae said something to us, Brother Love. You know what I'm about to say, and I know Bishop McRae knows what I'm about to say, and Pastor Beacham knows what I'm about to say also. But Bishop McRae, not every church is a community church, and not every pastor is a community pastor. But what I see in front of us, and what I've continually seen, because this isn't the first time,
Right.
what I continually see from these two gentlemen is community pastors, community leaders, community lovers who are contributing to this community in great ways.
Can I say to you, Greg, that I learned a long time ago, because I think when our church kind of burst on the scene, we didn't come with we had great music, we had all of this from day one. But the one element that was the foundation of us was, what are we going to do to make an impact? I never forget, I was in a conference, and the pastor asked, who was teaching the conference, he said, your church is centered in a location geographically. How effective is that steep in that community? Means nothing outside of the Lord moves in there. He says, you ought to pack your bags up and go find out where you're going to mean something. But that was the deciding element for me to say, we got to do something here. We got to make something happen here. And that's been our push. And when you do that, you connect with people and you mobilize people, you energize people. I mean, people don't. Good night.
They're not there to be entertained.
Right.
And I think in our case, to be. And so the effect that our ministries and many ministries have to our area is called.
Nice. That note, because Greg usually doesn't let me, slide by this, and I'm gonna fault him as well as myself. But we have Pastor Russ Beacham, the senior pastor at New Church of Faith in Pine Hills, with satellite offices where?
In Tampa and also in Deltona, Florida.
Tampa and Deltona, Florida.
Yes, sir.
Once again, that's Pastor Russ Beacham with New Church of Faith in Pine Hills. And we also have in the studio with us Bishop-Elect of the Experienced Christian Center in Pine Hills, Bishop Derrick McRae. And your church is located in Pine Hills. And also, where's your satellite church located?
We're actually doing some restructuring now because we got something big we're about to come out.
Oh, okay.
So stay tuned.
Can't let the cat out the bag. Can't let the bag.
If you let it out the bag, it may run too fast.
So Greg, we got to do this again. We
absolutely.
we got to build this in.
Absolutely.
But
But speaking of doing it again, when is the next time that you all are going to go out and do 10,000 doors?
We're actually talking about a follow-up plan.
Yeah.
Me and Pastor Russ, which was amazing. As we had our ministry teams out, we were riding together in the cars. Me, Pastor Russ, and Pastor and Apostle Jerry Owens. And we said we got to do it again, and we're going to do it bigger. I kind of envision us going and doing something citywide.
Absolutely.
And seeing if everybody can have all the major blocks in the African American community at one time. And the structure is so, we're just praying.
Yeah,
I mean, and people, you would be surprised the people that were pulling up, getting out of their cars, coming to it. And we strategically did all the blocks because of the fact that
quick,
more
hey,
time.
let's pause 1 second. We need to do a station identification. Go, Rondo, do your thing.
1680 WOKB.
At those blocks, because just as marketing said, one time out does not mean it registers.
Right. That's
So
right.
it's impossible for you to ride through Pine Hills on Saturday and not have seen us 3 times. No matter where you want to
And
go.
it was so strategic, effective.
Mhm.
It was so effective. A massive group. And when people saw it, 'cause they said, "Well, I never see churches out in the community." Yes, you do. Yes, you
Yeah,
do. Be honest now. Now you said never. No, but and the funny thing, our outreach pastors were a part of it. His outreach pastors, Dr. Jerry's outreach pastors were a part
And
of it.
give because you know what? It was so powerful. And I know sometimes when you start calling names, you're gonna miss somebody. But the way you guys did it, man, recognize some of those those pastors that come to mind, those folk that help organize, because it was incredible.
No, it really was. I don't want to call a bunch of names, but I do want to say this. Our outreach pastors called and said, "Pastor, we need to do this thing quarterly. We need to do this." So excited, and the scripture says heaven doesn't even move until 2 touch and agree on something.
Right.
And so when 3 days of on fire believers and people who really in that one time, but you got to do it again. We got to do it again real soon. I'm excited.
I already talked to Rod about.
Yes, sir.
But something to do in July, and then we're going to do it at a neutral site. But it's really pulling the church together. I think that we just have to keep building off of momentum.
Listen, if you don't know, let me go ahead and say this now, and the same goes to you, Pastor Beacham. If it's anything you need from me,
Yes,
just
sir.
like with Brother Love, if it's ever anything that I can do for you, because like I said, I've seen the work that you do. There's never ever a pause in my if you say, Greg, I need. So,
Yes, sir. I
or can
appreciate
you help? I mean, I don't want to make it seem, but
I got you.
So,
I need the all.
But we've had a very important conversation, and I see I've gotten texts on my phone that these are the kind of conversation that need to be heard, and I had somebody text me say, "Pastor speaking up." We got pastors speaking up every day.
Yeah.
It's just normally me and Greg on here fighting, but we got these pastors that's in here right now that's fighting, and they're fighting for the community. They're fighting to save some souls out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's our whole mission. I mean, excuse me, to a certain extent, we're not as effective as we should be. We're not fulfilling our commission if we're not out there helping people.
Right.
The shepherds have to smell like sheep.
Right.
That's it.
We got to be with the sheep, and that's part of our assignment.
It is.
to just love on some people with the love of Jesus, to teach them what we know. You know, to connect with brothers like you guys who have not only political power but business and entrepreneurs. Everybody can't be a pastor.
Right.
Everybody not supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're supposed to come and learn, and we drop the knowledge of the word of God, and then they take it back to where into the world.
We got to get much bigger. We have to become much more focused on the village.
Yeah.
How are we building the village? And we have to make, and this is something I'm teaching a lot at my church, teaching everyone how to be successful and giving them a space in the game to be effective.
Yeah.
Because don't nobody want to play in a game when you're up by 50 or when you're down by 50.
You're right.
You want to play when it's significant. And it means sometimes pastors reducing roles and our assignments to allow others to come alongside to be successful. It's us teaming up with politicians. It's us teaming up with the philanthropists. It's us teaming up with different entities. I'm big on teaming with law enforcement. I think it's part of the pastor's jobs to make sure that we bridge this gap of law enforcement and community. And so I think that when we do all these things, now we have this platform, because sometimes people are praying about what we didn't connect about.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
But
nice.
it's about
That's
that
nice.
unity too. And you know what? Sitting at this table, and Greg has already said it, we got to be confident that we have one another's back.
Absolutely.
And to have one another's back to the extent, even when, Pastor McRae may have to call me and say, Rob, man, I love you, but let's sit and talk because I disagree with you on this thing. And then when we get done, man, we hug and embrace. I may still stake the path, but
Can I say that's how me and Rod actually connected?
you're right.
We connected. It's amazing, a backstory to it. Me and Rod connected because I stood on one side of an issue. And when I stood on the side of an issue, Rod set up a meeting and came to my office and said, can you give me some time to talk? And I think Elder Shirley called me and said, Commissioner Love wants to speak with you. So he came to the office, he sat down, and he simply said, give me a moment to show you another side. And by the time we left, I saw his side, stood with his side against some strong confrontation. But I stood with his side, saw his side. But you know what I love the most? I gained an understanding of this brother. And here's the other piece that I know this is gonna be a little etchy. I also found that this Republican brother, and I'm a Democrat brother, man, we throw that R&D out.
Absolutely.
And we just get to issues.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
And if we can learn to do more of that,
Oh man.
Man.
Yeah, Pastor D,
Man.
that's why I'm not anti-confrontation.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
That's it.
Any healthy relationship needs, because it's three to everything. Your
Right.
side, my
Yeah.
side, and the truth.
You're right.
And so we'll never get to the truth if I don't hear both sides.
right?
We get this cognitive dissonance because I know that your truth is actually the truth.
The truth.
And the truth I've been standing on, when I receive your new information, it messes me up. Conversation. We
Yeah.
need to sit down. And I love how y'all sit across from the table. And you call it shade and throw in the kitchen sink. But the truth of the matter is, we got to get to the truth. Guys, it's going to take some conversation.
But you know what? Here's the forum, and I'm speaking right to the camera, for Governor Ron DeSantis, for our mayor, who's been doing a great job, Mayor Jerry Demings. Hey, Greg and I's mayor, Mayor Nelson. These are the kind of conversations that we at least want an invitation to the table so that we can talk about some of the things that are taking place in communities, and whether it's policy issue or whether it's an appropriation issue. Again, and I don't say this lightly, Governor DeSantis, our great mayors in our city, and we got leaders in the House and the Senate, but at the end of the day, as I mentioned before, the legislative session is coming to an end.
Yep.
And what you need to look at, laws are going to be made. What appropriations are coming in your community? And as we've heard a lot about criminal justice reform, it's something that you said a few years ago to me when you had and I'm going to let you tell the story. You had a young man show up at your church. Tell that story.
Yeah. Oh no, there are a lot of brothers that are coming home, and I love it. They come home every day because we have so many people incarcerated, but they come home, and I love these brothers because they come home on fire. Brothers and sisters come home on fire, and they come to the church and they say, "Pastor, I love God, I love you, I'm never gonna leave you." I say, "Come back and shake my hand 51 weeks in a row." Then I believe you.
Wow.
Then I believe because we can all. When we're a captive audience, we can get jailhouse salvation. No, we can get it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is consistency. You need somebody consistently holding you accountable.
Yeah.
You know, and I count it an honor and a privilege to be that person in the life of some of the people. I have a lot of men in my church who are able to do that, and a lot of ladies in my church who are able to hold brothers and sisters accountable. But I tell them, I don't believe you until I see you consistently, acting out and living out. Faith without works or corresponding actions is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if your actions don't correspond with your profession, then how can I believe what you say?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I tell these brothers that, and I love holding them accountable. I love seeing them grow, because it's difficult when they come home. Because the opportunities aren't there. The
Right.
housing is difficult.
It's challenging.
Economics are difficult. Even finding a good job is very difficult. But however, if they work this thing, they didn't mess their life up in one day, so it's probably not going to be fixed in one day.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's something I think we have to also do, and we probably really need to help really in creating that. We need to figure out how to approach those who represent to push agendas that affect our. We see what the problem. And I just taught on this the other week in church. Okay, the man that was in the tombs, he was cutting himself. The issue wasn't that he was bleeding. The issue was he had some other mental condition, and their solution was, let's just lock it down. Locking it down wasn't it? Because what happens when you can break? We got to figure out how to get beyond a chain and get to the real pains of our community. We need a town hall, but after the town hall.
Got to get to work.
That's right.
Because after every speech we hear from a president, from anybody, I remember President Obama. He would get on a State of Union address and say what he has to say, and directly after that, Air Force One is hitting the airways. He's going places to push the strategy. We don't have a strategy in our community, and until we get a strategy, we're going to stay stagnant.
You're
That's
right.
absolutely right. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
So we need maybe some lobbyists. Let's start working on identifying lobbyists, helping them to create the conversation, and then let's go work the hallways of Tallahassee.
This is a to be continued conversation because, the conversation that we're having right now, I like the walk that y'all did. I mean, knocking on doors this weekend, because I said, man, I was telling my father-in-law all day long. I said, man, that was incredible and that was powerful, because not only did you have the folk that you started out with, but then I started getting text messages and calls saying you had people coming outdoors that started walking with y'all.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
That's
it was really
very
good.
nice.
It was really
And
good.
I think, and if we understand the power of prayer.
Yeah.
But we also understand the power of principles, because especially in this conversation we're having today, a lot of times we're trying to reap where we haven't sown.
Right.
And it's very difficult to reap where you haven't sown. Like Bishop was saying, oftentimes when people get in position, they take care of who took care of them. And so sometimes we're trying to get somebody to take care of us, and we haven't. It must be mutually beneficial. It'll never be equally beneficial, but reciprocity is real.
You're right.
Yeah.
And so establish relationships with people who represent us. We have to establish relationships with because everybody want a part. Everybody want to eat the bread. Who gonna help me bake the bread? Everybody will get on a moving train, but who gonna help me get the train moving?
If you don't have the money, you have something else. What are you giving to the process?
Everybody has.
Something you
Everybody
can give.
has something.
Nobody stays home. Everybody has something. If you don't have the money, give volunteer hours.
Some time.
If
is
you don't
money.
have that, show up in the city hall commission meetings and sit there and pack out a room to make influence with everybody else that's in this. I mean, you have something you can do.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I don't know if you seeing some of what this is a conversation that we need to look at. How do we make a transition? And we need this, this was a half an hour that we just did, 45 minutes actually. We need to start this from the top of the hour and go right down to the end. And we need to be able to identify, as you mentioned before, coming up with some solutions
Yeah.
Strategy.
Yeah.
and mapping what the conversation is, because man, I'm telling folks, stop texting my phone and join the conversation next time about giving me these plugs to tell these gentlemen. But Greg, this is a powerful conversation that we got to do a to be continued.
No, absolutely, man. This has been a great conversation, and I don't know if I should be saying this, but I felt like I just spent 3 weeks in church, so I don't.
No, they don't count, Greg.
I'm not
They
good.
don't count, Greg.
I'm not
They
good.
don't count.
You don't get no credit for that.
Hey, well, hey, you know, I want to go ahead and extend. I know this is from Greg as well as myself. Man, we thank you guys for coming in.
We appreciate you all.
And the value that you brought. You know, we were going to talk about knocking on those doors. You guys went deep
This
on
was
us.
much more than
You guys went deep.
It was a part of it, but what it was for trickled into this conversation. For this conversation to be even greater than what it was.
Anymore to be those who sit back and identify problems, but do not have the abilities to correct them.
Now, who was it? Nehemiah that went into the Valley of Bones? Went into got the name, but it's exactly what I talking to the was raising up. Strategy, the right mouthpiece, the right person.
And teaching about the man who had sat at the and Jesus just comes to him and says, would you like to be healed? The answer should have been yes, but I don't have anybody to put me in the pool. He never asked him that. You know, I think if we stop making excuses for why things are the way they are, you know, because excuse is just a smoke screen that lies. You know, and so if we stop making excuses for why things are the way they are, and like Lex said, begin to strategize, then we can get up from where we are.
Everything's in the strategy.
Everything.
When you think about, we in Black History Month. When you think about Harriet Tubman, when you think about Martin Luther King, when you think about all of those pioneers, they were not just acting on something. They were everything was led to something else.
It was strategic.
The bus boycotts was not just about we're gonna empty a bus. It was about we're gonna affect the financial systems. Everything was about something else. Right now we're too focused on what's in front of us that we're not focused on what's before us.
That's right. That's right. That's good. That's
well, you know what? We could continue this conversation, and Greg and I, for those of you who've been listening, tonight was commercial free. There were no paid advertisement because this was just that deep.
Absolutely.
And kind of hit the rewind and do this again because you guys, you went deep on us. You went deep from not just, we talked about a myriad of things, social justice. We talked about economic development. Man, we talked about folk who want to point the finger but don't want to come to the table and do some things about it. So I usually tell Greg this around 7:59, but I'm gonna have to tell everybody this right now at 8:16. You don't have to go home,
but you got to get out of here.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen. Hey, for those of you who
very
watching, Let's Talk About It with Rod Love and Greg Jackson, as you see and witness, man, this thing is powerful. Jump on board. We'll see you next week.